I've just finished a book today, so 10x is easier than 2x, and I've got some slides to share with you and some exercises, some short exercises we'll go through as part of the meeting, and then we will conclude with that. And I've got some prompts for you as well to put into LLMs, and we should have a good little session. And it's a good little starter for the year because it's thinking about your unique abilities and what you can bring to the table, and then how you can utilize that in your life. At the beginning of the year is a good time to set your goals and to think about what's your unique ability and how you can do more of that. And we'll be going into that. So perhaps, yeah, if you want to just put into chat where you're from, we may have a few people joining. I'm just going to let people know we're live, and we will get started shortly, and I'll share my screen and we'll get going. Let's have a look. You just put that we are live.
I think we've got a mixture from your group, Paul, and also a mixture from my school community. So we've both come together, which I think is really, really nice. Yeah, so that's lovely.
I've just got a new Mac Mini and I've been setting that up, and I did hope to use OBS Studio, but just had a few issues. It's a little bit complicated because most of my stuff's USB, but it's USB-C. So I've got a connector going into a USB hub. So if I lose my picture, that's why. Montenegro, very nice. I think we're both in the level 6 group, aren't we, Kerry? And Asia had a little stall in there. It was good going around and having a little chat to the different people there. I'm expecting a few more. I'm just going to quickly see who we've got. We've got 14 participants. That's very nice. Kevin from London, very good. I'm just going to bring my participant list up as well. We've got Andrew. Andrew's in my accountability group. Good to see you, Andrew. Liliana's here. Mike, we've got a few of the note takers. And so that's all very cool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my slide and we'll make a start. We've got Andrew from Ripon, yeah, North Yorkshire. Nice bit of Yorkshire tea. Right, let's have a go. I'm going to share my screen. Let's go over to here. Right, what I've done is I've created a Notion, and I'm going to share that link with you all so you can take a look and follow along, and you can go and take a look at the presentations afterwards. I'll quickly run through what's in there. I'll just put that into chat and we will go through that. There. And that should be available for you, or you can go and take a look. And what we've got is we've got a presentation. We're going to go through the introduction and then the 6 chapters. 1 through 6, you can see some of the titles there. Unlocking 10x Growth, The Surprising Path to Exponential Success. And then we've got Your Quality, Mastering the Art of Excellence. We've got Abundance, Embracing Your Unique Power. And then we've got Your 10x Potential, From Past Triumphs to Future Success. Chapter 5, 150 free days. And then we've got Building a Self-Managing Company, The Path to 10x Growth. We've got some short exercises. We won't go through all of those, but you can go through some of those in your own time. I'd like to go through setting a big, hairy goal, and then we'll look at also writing your dream check, and we'll look at some prompts for that. So I've got prompts for each of the chapters, which you can pull up there, and we'll go through a couple of those, as I said. And then I've got some related books. As I was listening to the audio, they had various books they were recommending and quoting, and I've put those all in here. So we've got The Gap and Gain, another book by the same authors. The book itself is written by Dan Sullivan and Dr. Benjamin Hardy, and they've collaborated on a number of books. They've done 3 books together, and Dan himself is looking to do 100 books in 100 months, and he's got like a team of 11, so it takes him about 35 hours to come up with a book, but some of these are a bit longer and more detailed. We've got a number of books. As I said, I've given you a link so you can go and take a look at those and see if any of those take your fancy. I've probably done about 80% of those books and gone through those. There's a few new ones to check out as well. So let's make a start. We're going to go through, I've created these presentations in Gamma. It's a very nice little tool. You can put your notes into there and then it will spit out a nice presentation. So we'll take a look at the first one. Unleash your 10x potential, a journey to extraordinary growth. Welcome to a transformative journey of personal and professional growth. I'm going to guide you through the revolutionary 10x approach inspired by visionaries like Michelangelo. And we have a picture there. This is one of the stories in the book where they were looking at Michelangelo's life, and then throughout his life, he would go from one 10x to another 10x. He started with initial statue, and then from there went on to create this massive structure with the David. And what he said was, you've got the marble, and it's just removing everything from the marble that's not that David. And that's used as a metaphor in the book to think about your own life. And what is that thing you can remove to allow your, beautiful, beautiful self to emerge out of there? And he went on from there to create the Sistine Chapel. So each time he's sort of growing in his skills and growing in his unique potential. So it's a nice metaphor for the book. So the power of a perspective shift. It's not something you'd think is obvious, going from 2x to 10x being easier. So it's counterintuitive. And we're looking at psychological flexibility. That's the ability to be adjustable to what's coming at you and coming through there. You've got the identity transformation, and then we've got context versus content, and letting go of comfort. We're moving from a non-linear path to a higher intelligence and leverage. So where you've got a 2x path, that's more linear. Whereas you go for a 10x, it's more of an exponential. And quite a good example they give in the book is if you're going to go and buy, say, you could go and buy a $1 million home, and that's a lot easier than having 10 $100,000 homes. So it's less management, and you can just go through that. And it's also raising funds. I think Elon Musk said it's easier to raise $1 million than it is to raise 100,000. And so it's this sort of perspective shift is when you're in your unique ability and you're going after these high goals, then you're basically setting yourself apart from everybody else. The normal people go after ordinary goals, but when you're going for extraordinary goals, then it's setting you at a different level. So that's why it's easier to get there, which again sounds a bit counterintuitive. So it comes down to simplifying and focusing, expanding your vision, simplifying your strategy, removing the non-essentials. Again, there's that metaphor of removing all of the marble that doesn't work, and then developing mastery. And it's developing mastery in your unique potential. Each person has something they can do that nobody else can do. So it's not just mastery, it's also mastery and your unique ability, and developing that and developing something which is unique in the marketplace as well, something that not everybody else can do. So you can apply that to your life and your work, focusing on quality over quantity. So it's like a qualitative process rather than a quantitative process. It's not about doing more, it's doing less, but doing more of the things that are important, using constraints to magnify your potential. If you've got something that's quite broad, then there's lots of paths you can take, and it's a lot more difficult to work out where you should go. Whereas if you've got something which is a lot more narrow, that narrows your focus, and the theory of constraints means that you can focus more on that particular area. We've got the 4 fundamental freedoms which are talked about. Your time, you want to liberate yourself from time constraints, create a flexible schedule that aligns with your goals, we'll talk a little bit later in this talk about the different types of time and the different ways you can spend your time, and having time in your schedule to, have time off. I'm going tomorrow into London to watch a magic show. Lots of people in business, they're thinking all the time about business, but having that freedom to be able to go and do things, and that's quite often where these ideas can percolate and you can come up with things. Money, achieving financial independence and abundance through strategic thinking. 1 second, sorry about that. Camera's just gone off. Can you still hear me okay? Yeah, cool. Right, I will not worry about my camera. Relationships, cultivate deep, meaningful connections that support and enhance your 10x journey. And in your purpose, discover and pursue your true calling, aligning your actions with your deepest values. As you grow and you 10x, then you free up more of your time, you get more money, and you build better relationships. So for example, Michelangelo, as he started and he sort of developed his skill, then the more he developed his skill, the more people he was in demand, and the more sort of people would reach around him. So his relationships went up to a higher level. So where you're going to that higher level, you're becoming in demand and your network will grow. Just people will reach out to you because you've got a unique skill. You've got an ability that no one else has. So those are the 4 fundamental freedoms. And then we've got the moment of no return. This is a commitment to having a 10x vision. It's filtering the world through this vision of a 10x. So thinking, oh, is this a 2x? Is it linear? Or is it something that's exponential? Is it something that loads of people can do, which can be commoditized? Or is it something which is unique to your unique ability? So it's releasing everything that's not aligned with your 10x goals, and it's embracing more of the things that are simple, but it's developing that because it's something which you really love to do, then you're enjoying yourself and you're having fun while you're doing it. So it doesn't feel like work. So that's where it's moving into that sort of thing. It feels a lot easier. And you're not just working with yourself, you're working with other people, which we'll get into. The Gap and the Gain, this is another book which I wrote, which is the gap is focusing on what's missing, which keeps you in a cycle of dissatisfaction. You're thinking about You'll think about an idealized future. So it's, for example, I hit 10,000, but I hit 10,000 this month. I was hoping to hit 15,000, rather than concentrating on your wins and your past of what you've done well and all of the growth you've got. You're focusing on the gap. So the gain is celebrating your progress and achievements. It's more looking at the past, comparing yourself with your past self. What have you developed? And it's not always about money and success. It's also where have you developed in your relationships, in your health, or whatever it might be. You can celebrate all of those different things. So it's training your brain to see things in a different way and shifting from a continuation mindset, which is just a 2x, going from what you've done in a normal business to 2x. You might have to double the amount of sales, which is quite a lot of work. Your team gets more stretch. Whereas a transformation mindset is looking at things in a totally different way. So working less and achieving more. You may have heard of the Pareto principle. Pareto is looking at the top 20%. The top 20% of what you do is going to account for 80% of your results. The top 20% of your customers is going to bring in 80% of your revenue. It's not an exact figure, but it's focusing on that small amount of the things which are highly important. And then it's delegating, handing off those things which are part of the 80%. And getting other people to do those things. So it's finding the right who's to help you with your vision. And then it's also continuous improvement, developing your skills and handling high level opportunities. So 10x means you work less and you're focusing on your high impact activities. There's a lot of time you could be doing stuff which is like busy work, and that's where it can help, for example, to hire an admin assistant who can take on some of the stuff that just you're not really engaged with, and other people who likes to do that thing can go off and do it. So your 10x future awaits. Embrace your true expression. Align your actions with your authentic self and your 10x vision, and unlock unimaginable freedoms. Experience new levels of time, financial, relational, and purposeful freedom. Create a compelling future. Set quantifiable, exciting goals that motivate and inspire you. Your 10x journey starts now. Embrace transformation, let go of limitations, and step into your extraordinary potential. So we'll do a little exercise. I'm just going to bring that up for the first one. And that's try and write down 3 things in your life or work that do not align with your core goals or values. Imagine you're the Michelangelo carving David. What can you chisel away to simplify and focus on the essence of what matters? So what we'll do is we'll just stick 1 minute on the clock, and you can just pop those into chat. You don't need to. You can just think about it yourself as well. And I'm going to put the timer on there. So we have 1 minute on the clock. I'll see if I got put a bit of music on. Why not? Just have to share my sound. Here we go. And where did you go? Okay, just a very quick exercise there. Very good. Let's have a quick look in chat. Bad-mannered people, discrimination, injuries. That sounds good. And not getting distracted by trivial things. I've just got rid of a couple apps on my phone, actually, just because you can end up doom scrolling and you start to get into a little loop where I wake up in the morning and then I go to like WhatsApp, check that, and I go to Facebook and I start scrolling on there, and that's not the sort of most helpful way to go through it. And so, yeah, just thinking about some of those things you could let go so you can focus on the most important things in your life. We will have a bit more of a longer exercise after the next one there. And I'm going to carry on with the next part of the meeting. Let's go for chapter 1 we're on to. So that was the introduction. We're now moving on to 10x growth. Okay, let's go there. Unlocking 10x growth, the surprising path to exponential success. Welcome to a transformative journey of exponential growth. This presentation will reveal the surprising simplicity behind achieving 10x results in your business and life. The paradox of growth. Pursuing volume often leads to diminishing returns. It results in marginal products, customers, and excessive management. So 2x path is often, like I said, it's trying to do more of what you've done before. It's trying to get more bookings, or it's trying to do more sales. So trying to do twice as many sales. If you can focus on the other area, which is the excellence path, focus on what you love and excel at. This approach yields high returns and sustainable growth. And again, there's an example in the book where they were talking about an insurance company, and this person said, I'm only going to target companies that make over $1 million I think something like a million a year or something like that. And the other people in the, I think this is some time ago, and they said, no, it's impossible. But he kept working on his skills and developing that. And then he started, and he managed to get those companies. And from those companies, he was able to obviously get more revenue coming in for the company. And then from there, he sort of increased it. So he went from 1 million to 2.5 million. And then in the future, he set up his own company, and he set himself a high goal as well, working with entrepreneurs who have a certain turnover. And then as he went and grew his skills, then he increased the amount that people would have to earn to be part of that program. So it's like, yeah, just if you think about some things, you've got the different levels. You've got McDonald's, but then you've got people who go to the Salt Bay restaurant and they pay like, £2,000 for a steak, and it's like that steak is not 10 times better than a steak in a normal restaurant, but they have all the show and that sort of stuff. So it's selling the same item, but doing it in a unique way. He's an interesting character. He's like got a unique flair, and people in the Instagram generation, they go for that. So it's thinking about how you can apply that. Mr. Beast was talking about videos with a podcast with Joe Rogan, and he said he works with other YouTubers and helps them. And he grew one person from, I think this person had like something like 100,000 subscribers, and he grew him to like over a few million subscribers. And the focus there was on more quality rather than quantity. And he said it's exponential. If you improve the quality of the video by 10% and you increase the retention by 10%, then it's not like an increase of 10% in the amount of views, it's 4 times the number of views. So it's focusing on really high quality videos, but less of them. And that's how he increased this person's monthly amount. So I think they were making like 100,000 a month, and then they were making millions per month just by focusing on quality and focusing on the little things like making sure the thumbnail's really good and the description's really good. The interview is quite worth watching if you get a chance. It was Joe Rogan and Mr. Beast. He went through some of that stuff there, and there are some videos where he goes through lots of that stuff. So he's really focused on YouTube growth, and he's the #1 YouTuber in the world, and that was his main focus. So again, he's focused on his unique ability, which is the ability to make compelling videos on YouTube, and he's become the top in the world with it. And he's had to go through his different 10x's in there. The power of 10x thinking. You have your 10x goal. So in the next exercise, we'll think about what is a big, hairy, audacious goal. Again, that's not a standard goal. It's a high level goal. And that's the sort of goal which not many people are going for. So it limits it down. It also constrains your thinking. So as you're thinking about that goal, what high level tasks can move towards that goal? And so it's constraining your thinking, and it's thinking also about your unique ability. And then it's having the clarity and focus to focus on there, and then simple choices and using that filter for everything to think, oh, is this really the best use of my time? Am I working the 20% or am I working the 80%? Where can I get people to work in the 80%? And that leads to your transformative results. Here is the framework in action. Set a big, hairy, audacious goal, a BHAG, that inspires and challenges. Identify the vital 20%. This is the Pareto principle. It's the vital 20% over the 80% of stuff that's not vital. There's the Eisenhower matrix you might have seen, where you have the different quadrants, and from there you've got important and urgent, and lots of people spend their time in the wrong place. So it's focusing on the right area there. Eliminate the 80%, ruthlessly cut tasks, customers and mindsets that don't align, find other people to work on those. And then as you hire people, then they'll start working on 20%, and then they can start working with other people to do their 80%, and you sort of grow the company that way. Go in and commit to this focus strategy for transformative results. So it's a mindset shift that you're going to go from doing more of the 80%, trying to do everything yourself, to moving to 20% where you're focusing in on your most important and useful skills. 4 C's of 10x growth: capability, commitment, courage, and confidence. Develop your skills are catalyzed by commitment and courage. So yeah, it takes commitment. You have to decide, you're going to go after this goal. So for example, you think of sports stars. Michael Jordan went after his 10x. He kept on working on that, developing his skills, and then became like one of the top basketball players of all time. He committed to that goal, and it takes courage to do that. Sometimes it's letting go of things, and it might be difficulties, some discomfort and challenges around. So it takes courage. So that's why you have courage, and commitment leads to capability. And you keep working on that capability in your area of expertise, your unique ability. And that's going to build confidence as you reach and you you gain, like, you might gain a 5x and then you gain a 10x. So then that gains more confidence in yourself, and then that helps all of these different areas to grow as well. Your capability, commitment, and courage grows as you grow in confidence. Transforming your environment, elevate your circle, surround yourself with other 10x thinkers and doers. Find people who have this sort of mindset. Raise your standards, set high expectations for yourself and others, embrace the discomfort. There's something they say in the book, which you might have heard of before, which is life is working for you. And so, yeah, it's thinking about, so if something bad happens, how can you grow? How can you learn from that? Collaborate and foster an expansive and enjoyable growth culture. We'll talk a little bit about building a team a bit later. I think that's chapter 6. The fractal nature of growth. You have your initial 10x goal, you refine and focus on it, and then you can have your next 10x leap. So once you reach your first 10x goal, so you might start, and you might be just starting in business as an entrepreneur, for example, and you take some work where you're doing work for £20 an hour, and your first 10x goal might be doing £200 an hour. And then from there, your next 10x goal might be doing £2,000 an hour work. And so you're sort of growing from there. And each time as I said, you're growing in confidence, and then you're continuously expanding. I just had the picture of the Mandelbrot where you're sort of zooming in, and then each time as you hit a new level, you're sort of zooming in again. And that sort of, again, uses the 80-20 where it's moving in on that area. Your 10x journey starts now. Commit to 10x, set your audacious goal and framework for success. Audit your activities, evaluate your tasks through the lens of 10x growth, and be ready to revolutionize your approach to business and life. Focus on who, not how. Again, we'll be talking about employees and who, not how a little bit more. And let's have a go. So our next task on our list is, let me zoom out there. We're going to write a big, hairy, audacious goal. Now, you probably need a little bit more time to think about this, but I'm going to give you 2 minutes. So it's think about your big, hairy, audacious goal. What is it you're going to look to work on in 2025 that excites you? It's something which is part of your unique focus. We won't do the second part. We'll just think about a big, hairy, audacious goal. And so I'm going to put 2 minutes on the clock, and you can feel free to share that in chat, or you don't need to. You can just think about it yourself. 2 minutes on the clock. Let's have a go. Let's bring up my Spotify. For some reason it's playing on my one here instead of, hopefully you can hear it still. Let's go for this one instead. 30 seconds more, everybody. Right, cool. Let's give that a stop. And I'll read out some of these. AJ's looking for £250,000 saved, net after tax expenses, and a business that's doing over 50,000 a month consistently. Very nice. Andrew's looking for 5,000 to help support kids at university. Kerry, working with my son, creating a digital ebook for teenagers, start their own affiliate marketing, no-face automated income machine. Chuck's just added his meeting notes, so that's fine. And start passive AI infinity school. So yeah, I will be starting a school soon. Again, I've been reading this book and just thinking, what is my unique ability? How can I apply that? So that's why I've put a bit of a delay on my school group, just to think about that. And we'll move on to the next chapter. Thank you, everybody. And as I said, you may need a bit more time to think about your goal for this year, and that's fine. This is just to get you thinking in the right direction. And I think we are back to Chrome. We're going to move on to, I think we're now on chapter 2. Okay, welcome to Transform Your Journey. We'll skip about that. Power of raising standards. Set your high minimum standards. So Chad Williamson, I like books that have examples and stories, and this one was Chad Williamson, the person I was talking about in the insurance company. And he moved to sort of having $100,000 minimum, and now he's managing over $1 billion. That's assets under management. So yeah, he started and he had set a high limit just when he first started a company, and setting that high limit meant they had to develop his skills and to grow to that sort of level. But it also meant other people going for a lot lower amounts. So it again constrained the number of companies he'd go towards who fit the bill, and then you could target those people. So niching down, as many people know, just allows you to have a constraint that allows you to go after a specific audience. If you're going too general, then you're trying to be something to everybody, whereas you're unique with a unique set of skills that can benefit a portion of the market who are unique to you. So yeah, continue to eliminate 80% as you go through it. Focus on the vital 20% that drives the results. Pareto principle. And something which we've learned from Perry Marshall, and AJ's a fan as well, is 80-20 is fractal. So within within each 80-20 is also an 80-20. So within the 20% is an 80% and a 20%. So within that 20% is the 20% of that, which is the 4%. Within the 4% is another 20%, which is about 1%. So again, as you go down levels, so if you focus on the 4%, then those are going to be even higher value tasks than the 20%. And if you focus on the 1% might be £10,000 an hour task or £100,000 an hour task. The 4% might be, you know, £500 an hour task. The 20% might be £50 an hour task. You can scale this up and down, but allows you to think of that. And the same applies when you're thinking about business. If you have 1,000 customers, then 20% of those customers will pay 4 times as much. So that will be, 200 of those will pay about 4 times as much as the full amount. And then from there, again, it's fractal. So 4% will pay 4 times as much again, roughly. And there's a way to calculate that using the espresso machine calculator. And it's a fairly good approximation based on 80-20 principle. Evolve your identity, align your values and beliefs with your higher standards. So commit to mastery. Commit, nothing happens until you make a firm commitment. You need to commit, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus on this 80%. I'm going to do deep work. That was one of the books that I recommend. So when I am working, I'm not going to be distracted by, pings and, Facebook feeds and WhatsApps and all that sort of stuff. I'm going to turn off my phone. I'm going to set on silent. I'm going to focus for 1 hour on this particular task, or I'm going to focus on a focus block. I tend to work in 50-minute blocks, and then I'll take a break for 10 minutes and then another 50-minute block. And ideally, you want to focus on that one task, that one high-level task. So that's committing in that way to working more effectively, working in a 20% way rather than an 80% way where you're, in 1 hour, you're trying to do 5 different tasks or something. Embrace your loss aversion. Make it hard to lose your progress in the vital 20%. Align with your unconscious. You'll only achieve what you feel you deserve. So it's also working on yourself and your mindset and visualizing what you want. We've talked in some previous weeks about sort of mindset and having the right sort of mindset. There's a primal mindset or a more awakened mindset, which is, it's a more powerful mindset. So trying to be more in that powerful mindset. Maintain consistency. How you do anything is how you do everything. As you work to be more consistent in one area, then that'll also come across into another area. So if you're being more consistent and more focused in your business life, then that'll also come through into your personal life, in your marriage, in your kids. And then as you work, again, in the opposite way, if you're more focused with your wife, for example, then that's going to come across. So as you start to do anything, that's going to come across to everything. As you're more disciplined in one area, the discipline carries across into other areas. Think exponentially, but act precisely. Set audacious goals. It's often easier to raise 1 million than 100,000. I know Peter Diamandis has a course all about raising money and that sort of stuff. And I like him as well. I didn't put him on my book list, but he's got this sort of exponential view, and he has these big prizes. You might have heard like the X Prize and things like that, which led to space travel and things like that. Just often it's small companies coming together and doing things that big companies didn't. He was inspired by the Wright brothers who were sort of like created bikes, and they took this unique thing. Again, they used their unique ability to do things that these massive companies that were in the space weren't able to do. And quite often that's the case. It's a small team who do stuff like around robotics and education. I know that, what's his name? The guy from Stability, he was involved in the educational X Prize and trying to provide education for people using a smartphone and things like that. One viral video beats 50 average ones. So working on one video that gets 1 million views is easier than working on 50 average views that get sort of 50%, 50th of 1 million views. You can look at some of the channels, say in the AI space, and some of those, they've got a fairly small number of videos, but they work really hard on the quality, and they've got, say, half a million followers. Whereas you can work really hard on a not so good video or something that doesn't really appeal to people as much. There is obviously sides of that as well, as things that are more viral and things that are going to catch people's attention. It's not always that thing you want to focus on. Some things can be more negative, focus on the bad sides of AI, and that can get attention. So it's not always about the numbers, but it is thinking about the quality over the quantity. Compound your efforts. Small improvements can lead to exponential growth. As you keep working, then those things compound. As you start to build a team, then those can take some of the load off you, which allows you to focus more on the things you're good at, and all those things start to grow up. Hyper obsess, so channel your energy into fewer high impact areas. This is what you see obviously with sports people and people like Mr. Beast. They just focused on growing their channel. They focused on the one thing. There's also a book by Gary something, Gary K, who's called The One Thing. I tend to do too many things, so I'm going to try and be a bit more focused. 10x approach to problem solving. Tackling one 30 million problem is more impactful than 100,000 pound problems. This is the thing behind. Again, Peter Diamandis has a university and they're trying to solve $1 billion problems. So they've got a university all around this sort of area and they've got a faculty and they're working on these areas that are likely to have a high amount of scalability. So things like biotech and AI and security and things like that. So they work on those areas and they try to solve $1 billion problems. Peter Diamandis has got about 7 different companies and lots of those working on things like health and various areas. You have a quantity. Managing one $4 million property is easier than 20 $200,000 properties. Obviously, it's not always that easy. You can't just go to the bank and say, "Oh, can I borrow 4 million?" But you get the idea. Higher paying positions attract more qualified candidates. They were saying more people apply for the sort of mid-level jobs than the higher level. Lots of people feel, "Oh, I'm not good enough to apply for this level." So as you get higher up that sort of level, then less people are applying, so it can be easier to get in. Again, it's sometimes the 10x is easier than the 2x. Going for the jobs where you've got thousands of people applying can be more difficult than going for a job of few people apply, where you can sort of really stand out. You could spend the time to really create a CV that's targeted for ad, and you could create like a cover letter and do something unique. I saw one where someone went in as a delivery driver and he had Dunkin' Donuts and then his CV was written on the top of the Dunkin' Donuts. So doing something a little bit out of the ordinary can pay your way to it makes sense when you're earning that sort of higher amount because that's going to compound. Master your craft, adapt your skills across related domains like writing and marketing. So it's really your unique ability is not one specific skill. It's more sort of lower level, something that's unique to you, but you can apply across different skills and you can use that in different ways. But it's identifying what that is. Ensure your behaviors reflect your desired identity. Don't do things which aren't, so trying to set your standards, and that's a filter as well. This is against my standard, I'm not going to do such and such. Again, use that as a filter. Continuous improvement, difference between good and great can be one extra revision. And there's a book called Good to Great by Jim Collins, which again was mentioned in the book. And that's talking about, just focus on the extra bit. This was talking, I think, about James Clear from Atomic Habits. That's something he said. He worked for 3 years, I think, on his book, and it's going at extra level, going revising it and making sure it's as good as it can be. Then you can, there's very few books. Again, it's the 10x. Very few books get like a large amount. Most books make less than $1,000 and get a small amount of readership, and only very few become these bestsellers like Atomic Habits. Delegate the 80% to focus on your genius zone. There we go. Building a 10x organization, a self-managing company, we get to in chapter 6. Ensure team members work in their areas of expertise. There might be areas of your life you hate, like you might hate accounting, but you can find someone who loves accounting, loves numbers, and that's their area of expertise. So having them, they're in their area of genius, you're in your area of genius, and it becomes collaborative in that way. Aim for a 10 to 20% improvement, and that can yield 10x results. Again, goes back to the video idea. You can improve over somebody else just a small amount, 10 or 20%, but you get much better results. You could have like 4 or 5 times as much results as if you'd just done the first video without that extra improvements. Never settle for being good when you can be great. Keep working on your areas of excellence. Evaluate your worth, constantly assess what's truly worth your time and attention. Build a team of passionate experts to handle specialized tasks, and use your mind to access and amplify others' expertise. Let's have a look. I'm going to give you a prompt this time. So we're on chapter 2. We're going to write your dream check. So let me pop this into chat, and you can use any of your choice, large language model. You don't have to, you can just think about it as well. We're going to have a little bit more time for this exercise. Acts as a high performance for that. So this is writing your dream check. It's a 10x check from say the most you've ever earned is £1,000 an ad, and it might be 10,000 or whatever it might be. It's a 10x of what you've got before. And then what would someone have to receive to be really overjoyed with getting this? If they pay you 10,000 but you make them 100,000, then it's like a no-brainer. It's like something they would love to have. So it could be a personal. It's like, what are the skills, identity, actions with this vision, and offer actionable steps? So I'm going to pop that into chat. And what we'll do for this time, we'll do a 4-minute exercise. Let's have a go at that, and I'll pop that into here. So yeah, just get a chat GPT if you like. There's one called DeepSeek from China. You can go there as well. Right, so I'm going to pop that into that. Let's give 4 minutes on the clock. Stick on some music again. You may want to ask, can you ask these questions one at a time? Can you ask these questions? Right, I'll give you another 4 minutes. What I did there was I just ask it to ask me once at a time, what is the amount you want to earn and what does it symbolize for you? Yeah, I've got some custom instructions. I need to find where my are, but I'll see if I can share it in the Notion. So yeah, we'll do about another 1 minute 10. You may not completely finish it, but that's okay. We're just getting started. That's good, Kerry. Let's go out of flow, really complete state to maintain momentum. Right, we're going to end that shortly in about 20 seconds. Just about finish my questions. Kill the music. Cool. So once again, we're sort of just sort of going through things quickly. You can obviously spend a bit more time going through some, but you can see how ChatGPT can sometimes act as a sounding board, just asking you questions and you can go through it. And then at the end, you could just say, can you summarize this into PDF, please? Something like that. Or you could ask for it in a markdown format, and it's just going to go and knock that together. So yeah, I'll leave that running. We'll come back. Right. Okay. Let's go back up. So we just finished chapter 3, I believe. There we go. Did we do chapter 3 or was it chapter 2? That was chapter 2. Let me go for chapter 3. Usually out of the way. 10x abundance, embracing your unique power. We will go a bit later than 6. We'll probably end up being more like 6:30. But if you do have to leave, that's fine. You do have access to these slides, so feel free to go through that. But hope you find this useful. Welcome to a journey of self-discovery and empowerment. I'll guide you through embracing abundance, rejecting scarcity, and unlocking your unique potential. Again, this is an example of a 10x. I'd say is just being able to take all my notes, put it into Gamma. It just spins out, creates like nice images, creates this presentation. In the old days, I got this all done. I finished the book this afternoon and then got all of this done, put together the Notion, created that book guide and all that stuff. So that this presentation plus the Notion probably took about an hour altogether. And then I spent about 10 hours reading the book and creating the summary. But you can use ChatGPT to summarize the books. I can show you that a bit later as well. The power of wanting, embrace your desires. You want what you want. There's no justification needed. They talked about a book where you've got wants and needs. Sometimes you say you want something and people say, why? Well, you don't have to give them a reason. It's like you want what you want. And then I did a book called The Power. Again, I did some notes about that recently. And that's talking about things that you like. So you see something you like, then it's just make a note of it. And it's like something that's focusing on what you love. And it's like, yeah, it doesn't matter if you can't quite afford it yet. It's like something you're going after. And some people feel they shouldn't have a certain amount. A bit like my wife sometimes doesn't like it if I spend a lot of money on a meal or something like that. So it's sometimes a question of worth and that sort of thing. But they talk about in the book as well about this sort of this fallacy where people feel, if I gain and someone else loses. But if you go and you create a company and you say you create a baker, you're baking things and people are buying it, then you're creating new revenue in economy. And it's like there's not necessarily a case that you're gaining and someone else is losing. So it's having an abundance mindset. You're not facing scarcity, you're creating an abundance of possibilities. Choose a life of wanting over a life of needing. I think in the book, Dan said he'd written down things he wanted every day for I think it was over 20 years. So every day is writing down what you wanted, so become very good at what you wanted. So yeah, each day you can think about 3 things you want, and then over a period of time you get better at knowing what you want. If you see something out there, you see a car you like, or you see someone else's success, rather than being jealous, you say, that's what I want. You see some of our school community is doing really well. That's what I want, if that's what you want. Or, oh, this person doing really well on YouTube, they've got 20 videos and they've got 1 million viewers. That's what I want. I don't want a situation where I'm working really hard but not getting results and stuff. So yeah, focusing on what you want can be useful. Seek wealth, value, and freedom, not just money. So the money is the vehicle. The value and the freedom is what comes from it. So rather than focus on the money side of it, it's like, yeah, what's it bringing for you? We talked about the four freedoms. It's bringing you a better level of relationships as you go up the scale. Then you're around people who've got sort of the right sort of mindset, and you've got the time freedom as well to go off and do things. You've got time with your family, all that sort of thing. You've got the freedom to do. The infinite game of freedom. Play the infinite game of freedom, not finite games of need. There's a couple of books mentioned in the books. One's called Infinite Game versus The Finite Game. And then Simon Sinek sort of popularized it with a more recent book called The Infinite Game. So the game of freedom is something you can keep working through all your life, and then you might be passing on freedom to your family after you pass away. So these are infinite games. They're not something which is ever going to be finite. It's not something which you need to win. It's something you keep trying to get better at and winning at as you go. Intrinsic motivation. Tap into your intrinsic desires and motivations. I don't have to go and tell my son, oh, it's Minecraft time. Yeah, he'll play Minecraft all day, and if we don't give him something to eat, he'll just play and not bother about eating, that sort of stuff. So he'll play. You could easily play 14 hours without a break. That's an intrinsic desire. Find what it is in you that you love to do, and it's like, if people can pay you for doing what you love to do, then that's a great way to go about it. So if my son could earn money, say if there was tournaments for Minecraft and you could earn money there, because he's quite good at it, then you could do that, and that would be tapping into your intrinsic desires and motivations. Keep the main thing of your life. Focus on your priorities. Try to get rid of all those things that can distract you, doom scrolling, whatever it might be. Live authentically. Design your life based on your wants, not others' expectations. You don't have to worry about what other people think about what you want. You want things, and you've got, I think God puts in you like a skill, whatever you're interested in, that's unique to you. It's a unique fingerprint. So yeah, my son likes Minecraft and I don't, but I like systems. I like the future. I like technology. I like personal development, things like that. So God's given me that for a reason, and it's being authentic and going in line with that sort of thing. So yeah, live authentically with what not what others expect you to be. It's quite common in Indian cultures, I think, for people to want their kids to be doctors or lawyers or that sort of stuff. But that's not really their unique ability, not their dharma. Overcoming fear and embracing truth. Face your fears. Everything you want is on the opposite side of fear. Sometimes, as we said, we need to have that courageousness to go through and do sometimes the difficult things. You might find you have to let people go because then they're not in line with your vision. You might find you have to let friends go. They talked in the book about someone who was a smoker, and he realized to stop smoking, he's got to not be around those people who just smoke all the time. So sometimes, yeah, you have to make difficult decisions to go for what you want. Embrace honesty. Wanting is based on freedom and abundance. Be honest with yourself. What do you really want? To keep thinking about that and focusing on what you want. Embrace and cherish your unique qualities and strengths. Discover the freedom of aligning with your true purpose. Identify the things that energize and inspire you. Those are going to give you a clue as to what your intrinsic motivation is. Dedicate yourself to your life's work with passion. Keep trying to improve yourself. That's something I try to do. Is, yeah, like I said, this year I'm hoping to get better at YouTube and get skilled in that area. Keep working on my automations, and I'm still working on myself. I'm not 100% sure what my unique ability is, especially if you're young. Then it's going to take you time to try different things and see what you like, see what lights you up, and then focus more on those areas and less on the areas that you don't like. Find your states of flow where work becomes play. I think we talk about flow a little bit more later. Allow your unique ability to grow and transform over time. Characteristics of unique ability is play and creativity. Embrace your creativity and playful exploration. I love playing around with these AI tools. I've got the music tools, so I create music on there. I've got Mid-Journey and things like that. I've created over 10,000 images on there, and I just play around with these tools. This tool here is lovely. This Gamma, I'm using the free version of it, and it's created all these presentations for me. And it's like just spits it out, and then I've been coding using some of the tools. So, for me, lots of the time that's fun. Sometimes it's not fun when it's not working how you want. You're trying to code and it just goes around in circles. So again, you got to take some of the rough with the smooth sometimes, but lots of it can be fun. Experience rapid personal growth and transformation. This sort of shows you in your area of unique ability. Dive deep into your chosen field, uncovering endless possibilities. I was into cryptocurrencies for quite a while, and there I was like reading all of their blogs. I was getting all of the paid newsletters. I was watching all the videos and that sort of stuff. And then now I'm more into AI, and I'm again sort of in groups. I'm paying for courses. I'm playing around with the tools. I'm sort of probably spending too much on all the different tools. And then, yeah, just learning what I can about automation and working through the Make has an academy, so I'm working through that. Then, yeah, just keep transforming, diving deep into it, and trying. They talk somewhere in the book about circles. So if you think about someone who's a top chess player, a grandmaster, then they're looking at the board and they're seeing. They don't have to see in such they don't have to go into deep levels because they've already mastered the lower levels, and then it becomes concentric circles that get smaller and smaller each time. So a grandmaster is looking at the board. He's looking at less possibilities overall because he knows, yeah, other possibilities aren't the right ones. So he's mastered that skill. As you master at one level, and then another level appears above it, and again those make it smaller. So as you get that mastery, then you don't have to focus on so much stuff. It becomes sort of like second nature to you, you know. So I expect Mr. Beast knows he could look at a thumbnail and a title and say, oh, that's going to do well, this isn't going to do well, because you develop that skill. Somebody's not so good, they have to do a lot of testing and all that sort of stuff, but you can develop that level. Rule-breaking innovation, push boundaries and redefine reality in your discipline. They talked about entrepreneurs tend to start quite young. They're a little bit different, age 7, 8, and they're doing things outside the ordinary quite often. They're sort of, you know, they're going off and they're exploring, or they're creating games, or they're creating scenarios for other people or something like that, or they're selling stuff like a little tuck shop in the thing. When I was young, I used to do gardening and things for people. So yeah, it's nurture your unique ability. Embrace your inner child's confidence and curiosity. Pursue your desires without guilt. So yeah, just follow what you're interested in, follow what you're excited about. You know, those are put within you for a purpose. Focus on and amplify your strengths. Collaborate with others to complement your abilities. Take responsibility for creating the conditions you need to thrive, and earn your freedoms through dedication. Your 10x journey begins now. Embrace abundance, discover unique ability, commit to mastery, transform and innovate, and achieve 10x results. The journey to 10x thinking is a process of personal evolution. As you nurture your unique ability, you'll unlock new levels of creativity, innovation, and success. As mentioned before, that's going to grow in your confidence. Let's have a look what we've got for chapter 3. Write down one thing you truly want without justifying. We'll quickly do that. I'm going to give you 30 seconds on the clock. So think about one thing you really want, and you don't have to justify it, and pop that into chat. And you've got 30 seconds. Right, cool. So yeah, just think about what you want. I wanted to see this magic show. I was trying to find someone to go with me. I asked my daughter and asked some friends, and no one to go. So I'm just going to go, and I'm going to have a nice meal in Soho. I'm going to watch this magic show. It finishes next week. It's a guy called Azzy Wind. He won the Penn and Teller Fool's show, and is one of the top magicians. So I'm looking forward to going and see him tomorrow. So it's just something I wanted, and lots of people can't find anywhere to go. I'm not going to go, and I think the weather might be a bit snowy, but I'm going to go and enjoy myself tomorrow and just take a little bit of a break out there for a bit of that. Right, here we go. We're going to go back and go for the next one. Yeah, if you do need to go, that's fine. I'm going to carry on. I think we've just done chapter 3, so we've got 3 more chapters to go. I'll try and get through those in the next half an hour. Right, here we go. Chapter 4 now. Gap and gain. Gap mindset is measuring against ideals, leading to dissatisfaction and stress. Gain mindset is measuring progress from your starting point and promotes gratitude. I think we covered that a little bit before. Embrace your unique 10x journey. Reflect on your past 10x leaps, identify moments of significant growth, like learning to walk or starting a business, and learn from every experience. Extract valuable lessons from successes and setbacks. Focus on your 20%. Determine the key areas that align with your unique abilities and passions. Okay, defining your fitness function. Determine the specific qualities and measurements for your goal. So having a goal, but also how will you know when you've achieved it? This is coming back to some of the things like the SMART goal. Create filters to guide your decision-making and focus. Again, thinking through that lens of 10x. Align actions with your desired future, self and outcome. And mastering your craft. Actively engage in skill acquisition and knowledge expansion. But we talked about smaller circles as you go, and you're going to focus on finer distinctions. And as you go from a higher level to more detailed level, then you're working on those things there. And then achieve automaticity, allowing for higher level focus and creativity. So again, you want it to become sub-symbolic. You want it to become something that becomes second nature to you. So for example, you just know how to do something. If you're marketing, then you know what sort of campaigns are going to work well. You've got a good feel for things. If you're writing, then you know, even once you've finished an article, you know if it's likely to do well or not. And you've developed your ability to sort of create compelling copy and that sort of stuff. So whether it might be you're developing a mastery at an unconscious level. Set ambitious goals and identify your collaborators and provide exceptional quality. You want to create outcomes that are bargain for other people. Invest into your 20%. So you want to buy courses, you want to hire coaches or whatever it might be to help develop that 20%. How can you get better and better at your unique ability? Commit to developing your unique talents and transform yourself. Embrace the gain mindset. Celebrate your progress and learn from every experience. The recommended book every night. Think about your free wins from the current day, and then what are your free wins you want to have for the next day? What are your free top goals for working in your 20%? Set your clear standards and objectives for your journey and invest in your unique ability. So that was quite a nice, quick chapter there. We're going to move on to chapter 5. Which is 153 days, 153 as an discover your approach to time management. This is talking about chronos and kairos. Chronos is quantitative, so it's a rigid clock-based time management. This is where many people work. Lots of people work in the old industrial way of working, rather than this more exponential way of working. There is also a book called Exponential Organizations, which is quite interesting, by Peter Diamandis and another person. It's rooted in the factory era, leads to burnout and missed opportunities, whereas Kairos is a little more qualitative. It's flexible, flow-based approach. You're working on those areas which you love. You're setting aside the time. You're working on deep work, taps into your higher levels of being and inspiration, and creates peak experience and awe. So yeah, you've got chronos and kairos. You want to focus more on your kairos time. So we'll look at the 3 different types of kairos time. So you have your free days, which are your rejuvenation, recovery. Lots of people in work, they can end up working all the time, or think even when they're off, they're thinking about work. So when you're on your free day, you want to 100% focus on your free day, not think about work, because it's allowing a bit like a wave. You have to have that time of relax, and you need that time of working. So it's a bit like when you're working your muscles, then you put your pressure on, then you take your pressure off, you build that pressure, and then you take it off again. So yeah, having time in your schedule, setting aside time for holidays, time for doing things you love, going for meals, having time with friends, and doing that. Then you have your focus days. These are your days of high performance. So your buffer days are where you're preparing and organizing, you get all your stuff ready for your focus days. And then your focus day is a time where you're working on your high performance. Embrace your free days, fully unplug, allow your subconscious to work on problems. Lots of time people, find they solve their problems when they're going for a run or a walk in the country, or they're in the shower. Your brain just needs time to percolate and think about stuff. If you're just focused on that area, then it's too much focus. You need time for it to relax. So again, it's just having that ebb and flow, a bit like the waves. Engage in activities that create flow while you're recovering. So rather than just, on your 3 days watching TV or something like that, trying to find things where it puts you in the flow zone. It might be a sport you love, or it might be, you love an activity, you love going fishing or whatever it might be. They're finding something that restores you, but also can allow those ideas to percolate. Expand your thinking, use that time to broaden your perspective. Then your focus time. Identify your high value activities. You're focusing on the 20% that produce 80% of the results, or your 4% that create, I think the 4% creates something like 60% of the results. So yeah, that top 4% is the most high value tasks you can work on. Try to stack your similar tasks. So for example, put all your meetings in one day. That's going to allow, for example, if you've got a creative ones, you got to work on the creative side, then stack those together, you work on the creative side. And also think about your day. Some people prefer the morning, some people prefer the afternoon. Work on the areas where it needs the most focus, on those times where you're most alert. Choose 3 important flow inducing goals each day, and then create flow triggers. Again, in the book, deep work, they talk about having an environment, and it might be, for example, you have a certain smell or a certain sound, and that's triggers to put you into that flow state. And then every time you go, set something in the calendar and say, at this time I'm going to focus, and have those little flow triggers that are going to help to set you in that area. And then establish clear goals, get immediate feedback, and try to stretch your skills. These are the three areas for gaining flow. So yeah, having clear goals, and then you could probably use ChatGPT or something like that to help you with feedback, or you create something, you push it out there to people in your, it might be you create an email, you send it out and you ask for feedback, you ask for a survey at the end, then that becomes like a flywheel. You get the feedback and then you can learn from that, keep improving. So the 10,000 hour rule is not just about 10,000 hours or something, it's also getting the feedback and learning from that feedback. And then buffer days, planning, connecting, so maintain relationships, set up your systems and resources. So yeah, just getting things ready for when you're going to be in that state. And it might not be a buffer day, it might be a buffer hour where you just clear your desk, you say, okay, for this next hour I'm going to need this, this and this, you get it all ready, and then you're ready to go. So that might be a buffer hour. Again, you might have buffer weeks, you might have focus weeks where you have a particular week where you're just focusing on things, or it might be a focus month. You're trying to get a product out the door, then you're just going to be working, like we just saw, they had 7 days of OpenAI. They were really trying to get things out every day, but leading up to that was probably a focus month where everyone's working really hard, or a focus 2 months. So sometimes you have focus days, sometimes you have focus weeks, sometimes you have focus months. And the same way you have the 3 days, the 3 weeks and the 3 months. As you grow up the level of 10x, then the more free time you can have. As we said, that's one of the freedoms: more time, more money, better relationships. The final hour of your day, switch off your phone, celebrate your top 3 wins, choose 3 important objectives for tomorrow, meditate or pray to clear your mind for restful sleep. So expand your time, embracing chorus, you'll experience time dilation. You live longer, fuller days. So your time slows down when you're going fast, you're doing things you love, then you feel like you've achieved more in a year. So you might feel you've achieved more in a year than you've achieved in the last 5 years once you work more in this sort of 20x. Nurture your creativity, allow space for inspiration, innovative thinking, elevate your impact, focus on high leverage activities to create transformational results, and then empower your team by stepping back, allowing for self-management and growth. That is the end of that one. We'll do a quick exercise and then we'll go on to the final chapter. So we've just finished chapter 5. So here it says block a full free day on your calendar within the next month. Well, I've got one come up tomorrow, but yeah, think about something you could do in the next month, so sometime in January. 2 or 3 rejuvenating or enjoyable activities you'll prioritize on that day. You might go to a spa, you might just go for a walk somewhere. So just think about a date in your calendar. We'll give you 2 minutes for that. Let's stick on a bit of time, and you can share those in chat, or you don't need to, but if you wish to, that's great. I'm just share sound. Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Sorry, Kevin. Sorry, I thought if I share my sound, I think I click share sound, but it looks like you need to have a pull down and go to stereo. So sorry about that. Right, we're going to move on to our final chapter. Let's go back here. We're now on chapter 6, build a self-managing company. Discover how to transform your business to a self-managing entity, learn to remove yourself as a bottleneck and achieve exponential growth. Just get a robot to run it. I think just on a post yesterday, someone had a company which was run by AI. So Susan Garnett is someone who talked about in the work. She was bought into a company and then she turned it around and got it to 10x growth. So stabilizing, optimizing, growing and transforming, make the business functional compliant, standardized procedures when you're optimizing. Yeah, and then you're hiring people and working with them, build relationships and find better who's that can take on lots of the 80%. And then transform it, create a self-managing company, focus on your unique abilities, and then also get the right people into those roles. So yeah, stabilize, optimize, grow, and transform. Okay, we've got level 1. So this is 4 levels of evolving as a leader. You start as an individual, or you're doing everything yourself, you're micromanaging people. Then there's only so far you can go just doing everything yourself. That's where I am now. I did have 11 members of staff. I had an admin assistant and that sort of stuff when I ran a escape room and team building business. And now I'm sort of rugged individual back again. So I was on level 2. I sort of got to level 3 where I had systems in place. And then when I was in hospital for 2 months, the business was still able to run. So yeah, I had people in place at management level who could manage it. I had systems in place. So I was somewhere between 2 and 3, I'd say. So yeah, doing everything and then applying who, not how, finding the right people for the job to help you. And then you're visionary, you're freed from operations, you've got people managing the business, and you're exploring new opportunities, you're working on vision, you're growing yourself, you're networking as a visionary leader. And then the top level, level 4, is self-multiplying teams. You have teams working with their unique abilities. As they work more in their 20%, then they get people and train them up to do more of the 80%. And that's like a cycle that keeps working. You keep having people, new people coming in who've got skilled in that area, and then they work out what their skill levels are. And then also people working together, people intrinsically motivated. So rather than extrinsically motivated, they're only working there because they want the money. You've got like a vision for the company and they're behind the vision and they love what they're doing. So yeah, you can have, if everyone's loving what they're doing, it's like an enjoyable place to work for everybody. It's not always the case that you want it to be where majority of the time is doing things they like or enjoy, but it might not be all the time, obviously. And then we've got Tim's Principles for Business Growth. This was one of the people mentioned in the book, and he gave a seminar at someone called Joe Polish's network. It's a powerful origin story, create a comparing narrative like the hero's journey. You might have heard Russell Brunson talk about this. There's a number of stories, and that could be useful having an origin story. Have a strong ideology, establish a fundamental truth as your foundation. Create a symbol like a professional wearable logo. Things like Apple, people have Apple logos. They stick it on things, might stick it on a PC. So something like a Nike logo, obviously people like that, just something which clearly specifies who you are. Organize annual events or something like rituals that each year you have something that people can depend on. And my company, we just went on a company retreat out to Spain, and we did one in the past in Portugal. It used to be something they used to do every year. They used to have a holiday, and then people drinking and having nice food, doing team building activities and that sort of stuff. So that's quite a nice little ritual. These should be 5 and 6, but it's create in groups and out groups. So having an enemy. His company was to do with carried gun licenses, so you have an enemy outside of there. So working out who the enemy is, and then you can have like an in group and an out group. It's like insider language, lingo that's unique to your community, a bit like Russell Brunson has the funnel hackers and things like that, and there's lots of terms that he uses. Again, there's people within Dan Sullivan's group who use things like the gap and the gain, or who, not how, a number of different words which are related to the trainings he has. And Perry Marshall, he has various concepts which people know in his community. So it's insider language. It might be something that other people teach, but you frame it in your own language. Be an attractive character who serves members. So you want to have a servant leadership. Those are the 7 from Tim. Core who, not how principles. The first person they recommend hiring once you start to grow is to have an assistant. And it might be someone you just hire initially for, a couple of hours a week, 4 hours a week, 5 hours a week, and then you grow it. I had someone who would work 3 days a week for me doing that sort of stuff, doing lots of admin, responding to emails, and then helping me book the team building events, doing my finances and things like that. Empower your who's, set clear standards and success criteria, and view hires as investments, not expenses. A self-determination theory in business. Self-determination is around motivation. Thinking about your team, allowing people to choose what, how, and with whom they work, giving them the freedom. So rather than micromanaging, if they're an expert in design, allowing them to design stuff, you still have the final to say. You can say, oh, I like that, or can we change this? But allow them to do it in their own way, not sort of, oh, you must do this in. If they're a designer, they could choose to do it in whatever is their best program, for example. Continuing evolution of unique abilities and skills, and then creating transformation relationships with 10x individuals. So yeah, if all your company is focusing on their 20% on the stuff that they love, you're starting to move more towards that. You're allowing people to have autonomy, and then you've got things start to manage themselves. Then yeah, you can focus on your 20%, and you might end up having more than one company. You've got one company and you grow that to a certain level, and then that's self-managed, and then you might set up another related company and the two can work together. I like following, there's a guy who's got a show called The Profit, and he buys into businesses, and lots of those have links between them. So one company helps another company. So for example, he has a company that does all of the branding and the logos, and he has a company that does suites and things like that. So suites can create things for the corporate side of the business. And then he's got like clothing brands. So the clothing brands can make use of the logos and branding. And then he's got a furniture company, so they can come in and create all of the materials there. So they start working together, these different companies. There's a guy, it's called Marcus Lemonis, and that's quite interesting. Key takeaways for building a self-managing company: have a clear vision, set a compelling direction for your team, a trust-based culture, give trust to build commitment and motivation, focus on personal and team development, and embrace who, not how, delegate effectively to achieve 10x growth. Let's take a look. We've got chapter 6. Identify one task or area where you are the bottleneck. Write down the qualities of who that could take on the task. So just think about areas of your life where you're a bit of one bottleneck. You're doing things that you don't really enjoy. And then think about, maybe you could start to hire someone else to do that. Like for me, I want to try and get an editor to help with my video stuff. At the start, I'm thinking to just get a number of assets created to help me create stuff a lot easier. And then as I grow the business, then I can have a full-time editor or someone who can work a certain amount of hours a month, and just start where you are. You might not be able to hire someone full-time. You might not be able to hire them for 10 hours a month. You might be able to hire them for 2 hours a month. And think about what are the top things that are holding you back, and try and get other people to do those things. So yeah, I'll put 2 minutes on the clock again. 2 minutes to think about one task or area where you're a bottleneck. It's taking you longer than it should. You're doing things you don't enjoy. And let's get that underway. Cool. That's that there. So let me just give a quick summary and then we'll call it a day. All right, let's go back to my presentation. So yeah, we've covered your 10x potential. We've talked about your path to exponential success, looking at the art of excellence, and then embracing your unique power, your unique skill set. And then we've looked also at, just the different types of time as you're focusing on your Kairos time, focusing and then having time for yourself. And then we've looked at creating a company with next growth. We've got a few exercises there. You can feel free to take a look at the Notion. You can work through any of those if you'd like to go into more detail. And we've got prompts for each of the chapters. And if you would like to have a look at the books, here's the books here. And if you wanted to, for example, you might want a summary, then you could go to something like ChatGPT and you could say, please give me an actionable summary of the book, The Gap and the Gain, by Ben Hardy and Sullivan in a book introduces a mindset shift to measure progress and happiness. Instead of focusing on what you haven't achieved, focus on how far you've come. By living in the gain, you cultivate gratitude, confidence, and motivation rather than frustration, disappointment. So here's the key principal actions. And you could do the same for any of the books that take your fancy. I've given a number of lists there. You've got some practical tools to look at, a weekly review. So it's a nice way to just look at a book. Also, some people prefer an audio, and quite often there's some good YouTube videos. So, for example, you could go YouTube and look for Gap in the Game. So, yeah, there's some book summaries there. If you prefer audio and video, it allows you to go through there and you just get a quick summary of that. And yeah, workable things for now. You can use a combination of the two. You might look at a book and then listen to an audio summary and have a book there. And those that you really like the sound of, then you might want to go into in more detail and go through the whole book, as I've just done with that book there. Cool. And so, like I said, you've got a few books in there, you've got a few prompts to try, and you've got different exercises for each of the chapters. And again, if you find a bit like in my case, then it put it all in one go, then usually I'd say, can you break this up and ask me bit by bit? And then I'll go back through and answer that. Cool. So yeah, if you've got any questions, feel free to pop them into chat and we'll look to finish soon. Thanks, Danielle. Good to see you. Happy New Year to you. Flow triggers. Yeah, there's a very good book, Kevin, by let me get my brain in gear. What's his name? I listened to it while I was swimming. You've got the classic, which is Flow, Psychology of Optimal Experience. But yeah, Stephen Kotler was the guy I was thinking of. He's written a number of different books. He's written on the art of the impossible. And he looked at all these top performers in sports. He used to do sort of extreme skiing and things like that. And he was a journalist following all these people, like the people who did the skateboarding and snowboarding, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, he found how they could get into flow, and he's got like a flow institute as well. So yeah, Stephen Kotler's quite worth listening to. Let's have a look. Stephen. So yeah, some good videos. Stephen Kotler, and I said you've got a number of audiobooks as well, or books. So somebody worth checking out and take a look at the flow triggers in more detail. So yeah, he's studied in quite a lot of detail on there. Okay, thanks, Mike. Good to see you. And yeah, lobster dinner. I can't remember what it's called. There's a place in London that does the steak and lobster. It's supposed to be very good. Thanks. Good to see you, Bente. And yeah, we'll call it a day. But it'd be good to see you and look forward to catching up again soon. Like I said, you got the Notion, so feel free to have a little play more. It's a good time of the year to think about what is your unique ability, what is your goals for the year, and start to set some of those. That's what I'm sort of thinking about is, yeah, where I want to focus and what's going to allow me to do 10 times. So ask for more money and have more of my time freedom. Ideally, work for myself. I'll give you the Notion again. Yeah, thanks, Daniel. Let me grab that for you. Notion over here. There we go. I need to get a better setup for here with my with my Mac Mini. I had to switch to my iPhone. Yeah, for some reason my camera just went off. The light's on, so I don't know why it's come off. It's a little bit of a jerry-rigged with one thing connected to another, so it's not quite working. Cool. All right, thanks everybody. Have a good rest of the day and a good weekend. I'm back working next week, but I'm looking forward to have a nice day tomorrow. And then I've got badminton tonight and again badminton on Sunday. So yeah, trying to keep fit, lose some of those Christmas pounds. Cheers everybody. Speak soon.